Now, while Justice Thomas was the only dissenter, his dissent is worth reading. After New York State Rifle and Pistol Association, Inc. v. Bruin, this court's directive was clear. A firearm regulation that falls within the Second Amendment's plain text is unconstitutional unless it is consistent with the nation's historical tradition of firearm regulation. Not a single historical regulation justifies the statute at issue, 18 U.S.C. Section 922G8. Therefore, I respectfully dissent. See, unlike the rest of the court, Justice Thomas says there is not a historical analog to justify 922G8. Just as important as 922G8's express terms is what it leaves unsaid. Section 922G8 does not require a finding that a person has ever committed a crime of domestic violence. As Justice Thomas points out, there is no requirement that a person be found guilty of domestic violence before 922G8 can be enforced. This makes it different than other parts of 922G. It is not triggered by a criminal conviction or person's criminal history, unlike other 922G subsections. And 922G8 does not distinguish contested orders from joint orders, for example, when parties voluntarily enter a no-contact agreement or when both parties seek a restraining order. If both parties seek a restraining order, would said order include a finding that a credible threat to the physical safety of one of the parties? In addition, 922G8 strips an individual of his ability to possess firearms and ammunition without any due process. Rather, the ban is an automatic, uncontestable consequence of certain orders. There is no hearing or opportunity to be heard on the statute's applicability, and a court need not decide whether a person should be disarmed under 922G8. The only process 922G8 requires is that required or not for the underlying restraining order. Now, Justice Thomas says that 922G8 strips a person of a right protected by the Constitution without due process. It's the due process that's important because the Fifth Amendment states, no person shall be deprived of life, liberty, or property without due process of law. While there is no hearing regarding 922G8, the protective order that triggers it does require the person to be notified and have the opportunity to participate in the hearing. Does that satisfy the due process requirement?